Hey there! Today the moon continues in Leo, where we want to express who we really are. So, living loudly, courageously, and authentically, and putting yourself out there as who you are is the invitation of the energies today. I'm Marina Orms here with your Astro Vibe for Tuesday, March 11th. So yesterday the moon was in Leo also. We talked about self-expression, creativity, having fun, right? Make it fun and have fun exploring and experimenting with self-expression. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be good enough. It just has to be you playing with what you have inside of you that wants to come out, right? So, whatever your medium is. And then today, as we continue to develop this Leo moon energy, deepening into authenticity and what it means to be who you are more completely and more thoroughly, really. So, the moon also forms a square to Uranus through the day, and we've got the energy of Uranus coming in, bringing in some themes of living as your true self, authenticity, being who you are, being outside the box, right? Being who you need to be when you get outside of the feeling of needing to live according to someone else's idea of what is right. So, society's expectations, internalized expectations of ourselves that we have based on the various norms and ways that we have of defining what's good in our society or our culture, your own family, your own community, right? How have you internalized who you should be versus being who you really are? So that is the theme of today, is living according to your own truth, being who you are and expressing that more fully as you live your truth and find ways of sharing and telling your story. So through whatever artistic expression or self-expression is calling to you. And then, so I had a question. It was several days ago now, but it was about the void of course moon. And today, as the moon forms that square with Uranus, it also goes void of course. So, what is a void of course moon? I'm not going to give an in-depth explanation right now, but a really quick version is that the void of course moon means that the moon has passed its last aspect before it goes into the next sign. And so a void of course time for a moon can be anywhere from seconds to hours to days. And it has to do with when the moon forms its last aspect and then is making its way to head into the next sign. Once it enters the next sign, it's no longer void of course. A void of course moon means that any actions you take are don't have necessarily some planetary support for the moon for those actions. It's definitely not a hard and fast rule, so don't obsess over the void of course moon. I look at it as something to maybe look at if and when I have something that I have a lot of flexibility in the timing and it's a really important thing, and I want to look at what options do I have about choosing a time for something or scheduling it. And if I want to give it a little more support or look at what kinds of support it might have, I might schedule it when the moon is not void, of course, or take an action like signing important papers might be something. But again, this is definitely not something to obsess over and live your life according to. It's just interesting to start paying attention to when the moon goes void, of course, and if you notice that it is speaking to you in any way. So that happens today. The moon goes void, of course, as it forms that square to Uranus. So once it completes the square, it is then void, of course, because that square is the last aspect for this Leo moon. And that takes place at 1:15 p.m. Pacific time. So at 1:15 Pacific time, the square to Uranus happens, and then after that, the moon is void, of course, until it goes into Virgo at 12:55 a.m. on Wednesday. So see if you notice that things are maybe a little bit less clear once the moon goes void, of course, or how that might show up for you. Maybe I'll talk more about it in depth at some point, but that's a quickie for you and just something to notice too as we have this. I think what is more important to me and how I look at things is that the moon forms that square with Uranus and is asking us to make choices to be our true selves. And what does that look like? So, asking yourself, as you're doing any creative work or sharing something or working on something that feels important to you, how can you put more of your true self, your creative energy into that and see what can come of that, and being bold and courageously yourself so that you are not holding back and taking those chances, taking those risks to step into your fiery self. Leo is a fire sign, so it wants us to be fiery and bold and courageous and put ourselves out there. So, see what that looks like and feels like for you before you put yourself out there boldly and courageously and take risks. Just check in with yourself. Does this feel right? Is this true for me? Is this authentic for me? Or am I doing something that I feel like I should, right? So I feel like society wants me to, or I have an expectation of myself that I should be that way. So just noticing what that difference is and what is right for you. All right, thanks for being here. I'm Marina Orms. You can learn more about me and how to book time with me at astrologyheals.com. And thanks for subscribing. I will see you next time with more astrology for unshakable self care. Bye for now.